Hello and welcome to part 3 of Module 16, and today we're going to be talking about pregnancy. Ooh, there's a good looking team. I'm just kidding. So anyway, I've always been kind of interested in pregnancy, and hopefully that isn't sounding weird or anything, but it fascinated me how some couples uh, get pregnant on like their wedding night, and like they come back from the honeymoon, they announce to the church, "Hey, we're having a baby," And I'm sure you can think of people like that. I'm not going to name them; that'd just be weird. But they've been married for 4 years and have 5 kids, and it's like, what are you doing? That's crazy. I can barely handle the one I have. And then there are some couples who they try for a couple years and then they're like, okay, well let's talk to a doctor, and then they get, advice and like pregnancy coaching is actually a huge field. It's like, that's so strange. And anyways, sorry, I'm getting Skype messages. And so anyway, I just answered the Skype messages. I can't think while they're still there, so I had to cut the video. Now, why are some couples, does it seem like super easy to get pregnant, and some try for years? Doctors visits, in vitro fertilization. It turns out that when one or maybe more than one things are just slightly, not even wrong. Like, there's nothing like wrong. Just slightly unique, or just a little bit different, it can cause some issues. Kind of like people who have a normal blood pressure range, for instance, but theirs lends itself to being a little low. They kind of have some fainting episodes. Like, there's nothing wrong, it's just not functioning perfectly. For instance, the male, in order to facilitate pregnancy, must have enough fructose to reach the ovum. And if there is low amounts of sugars in his sperm, it's very hard for pregnancy to occur. Or if there's very low amounts of sperm themselves, because there's a range of a normal range. But if there's a low amount of sperm themselves, pregnancy is harder to occur. Here's another one. Vaginal walls must have a balanced acidic pH. If the acidity is too high, kills all the sperm. If it's too low, you could have an infection. Embryo must implant itself to the walls of the uterus. I find this kind of sad, but we're just going to talk how it is. There's a lot of people out there who have the very real ability to fertilize an egg. That's not the problem. But the walls of the uterus, the egg doesn't catch onto the wall of the uterus. So, in a technical sense, it is alive and it's fertilized. The egg is a baby. They got pregnant, but because the embryo doesn't attach to the wall, the baby dies every time, and there's not too much you can do about that. I have one more call. Okay, we are back. Sorry about the call that I had. We're on number 4 here under pregnancy, things that need to occur. This is another kind of a sad one, and this is that the zygote fertilized egg must have successfully mixed the DNA to go through mitosis. Mitosis is only possible. The mitosis is the cellular reproduction. It's only possible if the DNA works. So you could have sperm, egg, fertilization good, attached to the uterine wall, everything's working out fine, and then all of a sudden the egg just dies. And it's like, why? And sometimes that's just because the DNA did not contain the instructions or was missing some instructions. If something only has 44 chromosomes or 45, or it's missing something, the death is inevitable. And a lot of times, the sperm that reaches the egg only carries, 22 chromosomes or something like that. And the older that you get, actually, the more likely it is that the sperm or the egg has mutations. And so, if you are having your first child as a female at 35, you're considered high risk. Well, why? Because a lot of times the eggs that the body's putting out are not as genetically homogeneous as they were once when you were 20 or 25. Same thing if the dad is 50 or 60 when he's having a kid, which is possible for a male. Sometimes his sperm just does not contain all the right DNA. It's kind of disheveled, and the egg has a higher likelihood of dying. And in both these cases, mom wouldn't even know. That she just might think her period's late. Hormones must be maintained at a high enough balance. If you lack progesterone or estrogen, it isn't going to happen. The umbilical cord, the placenta, must grow and develop without error. So a lot of times, even if pregnancy does occur, the placenta could get ripped or messed up, or the umbilical cord isn't just right. And unfortunately, those are the more sad cases of pregnancy loss due to those kind of things. And that can happen to just about anybody. And, of course, that was a major concern of ours when having Ray. Clinical terms, amenorrhea is the absence of menstruation, most of the time by hormone imbalance, extreme weight loss. Even being overly athletic can decrease the amount of estrogen and cause menstruation not to even happen. Dysmenorrhea is pain associated with menstruation. This is not just talking about normal cramps or something. This is severe enough to prevent normal functioning. A lot of these are caused by cysts or tumors and need to be checked out. And menopause, of course, is something you may have heard of. It happens between usually 47 and 53. And this is when menstruation stops. And your body comes to kind of a screeching halt because it's so used to having menstruation that when it stops, your body's like, I don't know how to deal with this. And menstruation and the release of the egg kind of get erratic. This is actually, ironically, a time that a lot of fluke pregnancies occur, especially in really old ages. Is, you get to about 45 and you haven't had your period in 3 months, and you're like, I guess I'm menopausal. But menopause could last for years. I actually knew a guy who his mom had him when she was 50, and dad was 55, because his dad died of a heart attack at 73 in high school. And I was like, why is your dad having a heart attack? His parents were ancient. But menopause can really mess things up. Surgical procedures. Hysterectomy is surgical removal of the uterus. This happens for various different reasons, typically for cysts or cancer. And sometimes it's done as preventative. Because cancer runs in the family. Unfortunately, ovarian cancer is one of those types of cancers that is largely genetic. And so if your mom had it, they say that your chance of getting it is upward of 50% sometimes. And so some people just remove the uterus just to have no chance of even getting it. Another surgical procedure that's frequently done, especially in America, is circumcision. Removal of the prepupus around 3 to 4 days after birth. There's some reasons to do that besides biblical history, and that is the possibility of lower chances of UTIs, cancer, sexually transmitted diseases. There's kind of scattered data to show that. Most people just do it simply because it's kind of common to do in America, but pretty much nowhere else, besides, of course, like Israel. And we're going to end on this slide, and we're going to start the slide with a meme, right? Ever hear of the 10-year challenge? I saw this one on Google. I thought it was funny. 10-year challenge from this guy to this guy. Let me see your ears, right? That'll tell you real quick whether or not this person's actually who they say they are. Fortunately, the bodies change, and that's a good thing, because if you were stuck in an 8-year-old body, that'd be pretty embarrassing. Testosterone is the principal male sex hormone, where estrogen is the principal female hormone. There are two different types of sex characteristics. You have primary and secondary. Primary is development in the womb. The baby already comes out with its gonad and develops its sex organs about 2 months after pregnancy occurs. And and so the genetic code already knows how to do that, and that's developed before you're even born. Secondary sex characteristics come later, when puberty signals the development of sexual maturity, and it is a very, very complex process in the brain that we really don't understand too much, but as kind of a general overview, essentially for both males and females, there are hormones released for males, mostly testosterone, for females, estrogen, and these influence the body to produce changes in shape, voice pitch, body hair, among other things. And sometimes it does it kind of erratically, and it's often one of the most fun things as a teacher to see 7th graders come back in 8th grade, and they're totally different. Like they gained 30 pounds, they grew 7 inches, and they come back with a beard. And when they left school for the summer, they were squeaky. They sounded like this guy. Some of them looked like this guy. By the time they graduate as a senior, they're like this, and it's like, whoa, that's crazy. Unfortunately, puberty does that kind of work through the release of certain hormones. Well, anyways, we're going to deal with these last 5 slides tomorrow. I'll see you guys later. Have a good day.